The only possible answer is that you make a living from your information, because the information is what becomes valuable in a highly advanced society.
Sociale media zijn hun onschuld verloren. Het zijn multinationals geworden met gigantische economische en maatschappelijke impact. De oprichters van die bedrijven komen steeds vaker onder vuur te staan. Burgers spannen rechtszaken aan en winnen ze.
Nu een jonge vrouw in Amerika een zaak heeft gewonnen tegen Google en Meta.
Bijvoorbeeld om ze verantwoordelijk te houden voor het verslavende effect van hun platforms op jongeren. Mark Zuckerberg stuurde daar bewust op, terwijl medewerkers hem wezen op mentale gezondheidsrisico's.
They knew the harm, right? They knew the damage. They assessed the risk and they moved forward anyway.
Illegale praktijken zijn door Meta de standaard gemaakt.
Wat Meta doet is het opslaan en verwerken van gegevens van gebruikers. Dat mag volgens ons al überhaupt niet volgens de wet. En nu zeggen ze eigenlijk, als je wil dat wij deze verboden handeling opheffen, betaal ons dan €8. Dus eigenlijk koop je je privacy, een grondrecht, koop je af voor €8. En ja, dat is natuurlijk heel raar.
Ondanks deze overwinningen lijkt de macht van Big Tech niet af te nemen. Want ze hebben goud in handen. Onze data. In 2013 maakte Tegenlicht hierover de aflevering Uw data is goud waard. De contouren van wat zich nu afspeelt waren toen al zichtbaar, maar hoe waardevol onze data zijn en hoe makkelijk we onze zeggenschap erover zouden opgeven, konden we ons nog niet voorstellen. Kijk mee met een terugblik op onze naïviteit en hoop.
Al die persoonlijke data van u, datacenters vol, zijn het hart van wat big data heet. Een schat aan waardevolle nieuwe inzichten, afgeleid uit uw locatiegegevens, e-mails, foto's, sms'jes en wat u nog meer digitaal produceert.
Data was always used to sell physical goods or sell a service. But data itself was never the good itself that was being sold.
Bedrijven hebben er veel geld voor over om alles over u te weten te komen. Uw persoonlijke gegevens kunnen namelijk ingezet worden om uw toekomstig gedrag te voorspellen. En daar zit pas echt het grote geld. Uw geld.
Your information might be owned by you, but you don't have the power of ownership. You don't have the power to decide not to sell it. You don't have the power to set your own price. You have no power at all.
Dit is wat u te wachten staat.
Now data gains its own value, gains its own importance. And so itself becomes a product to be sold, to be used, to be analyzed and thereby extract value from it. And that changes, of course, the revenue and business models of many companies.
Victor Meyer-Schönberger schreef samen met Kenneth Cookyer het boek De Big Data Revolutie, waarin hij zich afvraagt hoe onze wereld verandert nu er zoveel data zijn.
Even if we control all of our information almost perfectly, people around us can leak information that compromises us. If I don't reveal anything about my sexual orientation, but some of my friends do, then just by the fact that they are my friends and they revealed something about their sexual orientation creates a strong probability about my sexual orientation.
It's interesting that the greatest fortunes in history are being built almost instantly on other people's data. And yet it's very hard to say how much the data is worth.
Jaron Lanier is een bekende naam in Silicon Valley. Hij bedacht de term virtual reality en begon verschillende start-ups die hij succesvol verkocht aan onder andere Google en Oracle. Maar in zijn laatste boek, Who Owns the Future, vraagt hij zich af of we niet betaald moeten worden voor alle data die we gemerkt en ongemerkt produceren.
Even though the companies that want your data promote what they call openness, Facebook says, share, you have to share. Even though they want that, the truth is that their own operations they keep very secret. So it's very hard to know how much people have paid each other for access to your data. We don't know the total amount. We do know that it's substantial, though. We do know that the market values companies that collect data. So based on just looking at all of that, we can estimate that perhaps for an average person, some hundreds of dollars have been spent for access to their data in a given year. For a lot of people, it's actually in the thousands. But there's probably nobody for whom it's less than the hundreds at this point.
Ultimately, what I'm after is understanding human behavior, human interactions. Big data is about behavior because an individual only has so many data points that describe who they are as a person. You know, how many demographics does a person really need to get a good sense of them? But your behavior trails, I won't call them infinite, but they're very long. Our firm is collecting data off of people's personal computers as well as tablets and mobile devices. So when we collect information about an individual, we're not really interested in who the person is. So I don't need to know their name, where they live isn't so important. What's more important is that this person is potentially looking to buy a new car, or they're looking to buy a particular item of clothing. And so that type of information can be inferred based on your browsing habits. Certainly, we're able to find indicators of a person's interest and purchase intent that they may be giving subconsciously. And that's really what it comes down to. It's predicting the types of products that a person might purchase and also what you call in market, whether or not someone is interested in buying something now. People often remark that I have the fewest amount of apps they've ever seen on a phone. I don't know what that says about me, but now that I know so much about how much information is collected, I keep it all private.
Is that true? Is that a joke or is that true?
That's more of a joke. I don't really care so much that my data is being collected, because ultimately I know it's people like me who use it, so I trust myself.
Vooralsnog geeft u uw persoonlijke gegevens veelal gratis weg. En bedrijven slaan al die informatie dankbaar op. Want uw data zijn goud waard. Allereerst voor de reclamewereld, die uw data gebruikt om u gericht advertenties te sturen.
Advertising used to be a form of rhetoric, a form of expression. So an advertisement meant there's a beautiful woman with a beautiful car, and if you buy the car, you'll be around the beautiful woman. It was always bullshit. Everybody knew that, and yet somehow we bought into it. And my personal opinion is that this type of advertising, even though it's ridiculous and annoying in many cases, has been essential to our well-being, because people are habit-bound, and modernity has required people to change habits, and advertising has been the way that we've done that. And I think that's mostly been for the better. So overall, I'm happy with traditional advertising. I'm glad it exists. However, what we're talking about in the internet era is not advertising as we knew it. Instead, what this is about is micromanagement of the options in front of you. And so it's really not behavior modification, but behavior restriction. So there's only a limited amount of screen space. There are only a limited number of seconds with which you can look at any device you have, your phone or tablet or whatever. And so if Google or Facebook can say, okay, here you see this option, that is not just a question of influence. It's not just a question of suggestion. It's not just a question of making something available to you wouldn't have known about. It's actually restricting your options within a very narrow scope. So it's a very important distinction.
Because you once said that Google was not, you were kind of hesitant in calling Google an advertising company.
Yeah, Google is not an advertising company because what they make 95% of their money, essentially everything, not from advertising that has any sense of style or any sense of persuasion. It's simply from micromanaging the limited number of options in front of you. So it's more a behavioral option management company.
Human beings are very random. Your purchase decisions are very random. Your browsing decisions are very random. So the more randomness or noise that's ingrained in this process, the more difficult it is to be accurate. Okay. And there's always going to be limitations on how accurate these predictive models can be. Wall Street, for example, it's very difficult to perfectly predict if a stock is going up and down. But the way advertising works and the way Wall Street works is the transactions are happening at such scale that I only have to be 10% better than random to make millions of dollars for my firm. So if with just small gains in efficiency, you can actually create a lot of value. And that's what it comes down to. It's not about being right all the time. It's about being better than average or being better than random, and even being better than your competitors. As far as I can tell, unless we have every perfect piece of information about you and your state of mind at every given moment, we won't be able to predict you perfectly. Even you, knowing everything about your thoughts and your interests, probably can't even make perfect predictions.
Well, maybe the computer will learn to predict me better than that I can.
It's possible with enough data. It's the frontier of accuracy is yet to be determined.
The internet companies have not built a profile of you alone. They've built a behavioral model that's predictive, and that's a crucial difference. So a profile is static data. So that would be, and that they might reveal to you, that because it's harmless to reveal to you. So that would say, oh, you have this many children, and this is your income, and you have this car, and this is where you went on vacation. In a way, that's not very important. What is important is that they can correlate all of those things with everybody else. They can look at what everybody else who's similar does, and then use those statistics to predict you. And it's that prediction that they never share with you. You never get to see that. They would die before they would share that. But that's the important part. And that's when they would say, people who are similar to you are likely to accept this financial offer. People who are similar to you are likely to be influenced by this ad. People who are similar to you are likely to get this disease. And all of these things influence tremendously both the offers you receive and the options that are given to you. This idea of the open internet, the idea that just in order for information to be free, we'll let advertising be the business plan. That trade-off is terrible, because what it means is that instead of exploring options, instead of being free to walk anywhere you want in the city of the internet, there are these people who are steering you, and they're putting up blinders so you can only see certain streets, because there's a limitation to how much you can see ultimately. And so if you're micromanaging which options are available, you're essentially directing people. So the Google business plan is the greatest threat to freedom on the internet, greater than the NSA, greater than any censor, because it's directly making money from controlling what people know about.
So George Orwell, envisioned this 1984 where, people were being spied on, but they were being spied on by other people watching cameras and listening to microphones. And so now we have far more detailed measurements about people, and almost all the people in the world also. That's something he could never have foreseen.
Dit is Alex Pentland. Hij is professor bij het MIT Media Lab in Boston en een van 's werelds beroemdste experts op het gebied van big data.
Right now, there's something on the order of 5 billion phones out there. That means every person on Earth practically is all of the time. You know who their friends are because of who they call. You know where they go, what their habits are. As we get to sort of more developed countries where we have credit cards and think, what they buy. And so it's far more information about people than George Orwell ever had. And this is why it's important to think about who owns that data. What can we do with it?
In today's world, the most common form of power is having spy data about somebody else. And it's a very strange form of power. It's different than earlier historical forms of power. Power has usually meant the threat of violence. What would happen is somebody would say, well, ultimately, if you don't do this, I'll hurt you. And it might be indirect, it might be complex, but that's how it works. The new kind of power is different. It's a very gradual form of power. Somebody saying, hey, you can do what you want, but I'm micromanaging options, so very gradually I'm steering you to what I want. I'm very gradually influencing the financial decisions you make, the commercial decisions you make, the education decisions you make, all kinds of things. So very gradually I'm changing the world so I become richer and richer and more powerful. So it's a new kind of power that's very sneaky and gradual. But the thing about gradual power is it compounds like compound interest. So if somebody can use spy data about you to just change your decisions to give me like 0.1% advantage every year, it accumulates until suddenly I'm very rich and you're very poor. So that's the new kind of power. So it's very subtle, and that's what makes it so important that we understand it and so important that we change it.
Most people are not aware of what's going on, so there's no reason to be worried. But also the fact is not that much really bad is happening at this point, okay? But that isn't likely to be the true case in the future unless we do something about it now. And the thing to do about it is to treat it like money, so that it has permissions and it's regulated, its flow. It's not rocket science, right? It's really just recognizing that this is an important asset and it needs to be shared so we can get the public goods, and it needs to be under individual control so people can feel safe. The way we do with money, the way we do with many things.
Since the 19th century, there's been this anxiety that someday technology would get good enough that it would throw people out of work, right? And then the answer to that has always been, well, no, it's just that there'll be new ways to make a living that are better than the old ways. So, and that's a very good answer. But the problem is, as things become highly automated and highly efficient because of digital technology, can we still make that answer work? If the cars are driving themselves, if your cameras are printed out by a 3D printer instead of manufactured in a factory, is there anybody still making a living? And the only possible answer is that you make a living from your information, because the information is what becomes valuable in a highly advanced society. What's interesting about this is that, so far as I can tell, I've been trying to calculate this, that value is going up. What I ask is, will it ever reach what we would call the poverty line? Will it ever be, will the average person's information be worth as much as the poverty line in a given country at some point? And I hypothesize, yeah, maybe in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But at the point where just your information is worth enough to bring you out of poverty, then we have an option to think about a society in a new way. And this is what I'm trying to get people to think about.